Everyone, I am back. This is Joy, also known as Dr. Joy. I'm back for our final session in our um, purple print journey block, which has been really helpful for me, as I've stated several times, just to be able to process out loud, share some of my story of what some might call a dark night of the soul, some might call a hot mess. But process the last few years of my life in transition of kind of losing everything that I've ever had, and rebuilding my life and talking to you while I'm still kind of in the midst of the rebuilding. I'm not on the other side of the vacation life, retirement life, gazillionaire yet, right? But also coming from a space of um, being way more intuitive than I've ever been before, and especially more so than I was before I was dropped into this journey, into the space of remembering myself, right? So all the little nuggets that I have left, and we'll try to leave some today, will be in hopes that somebody on their journey will maybe pick up some of this info to normalize one, what is happening with you, for you to know that you're not the only one who's going through the things, but to also be able to look at your silver linings, to step into whatever your faith is, and to just keep going. That's really the thing. Just keep going. There is better. There is different. Just keep going. So in this last session, I know that I probably have some, I'm sure I have some pictures that I'm going to, let me actually just look at the last pictures. So at this point, I think one of the first photos that I'm going to be using is going to be from like August of 2025. And right now, when I'm speaking to you, it is not August 2025. It is months, like at least maybe 5, 6 months away. Okay. So I wanted to wait to do the video. I didn't know what I was going to be able to share about some of the changes that have already happened, but I'm happy to be able to share some of those things. We can have hope, but I think it's kind of hard for some of us to believe in things if we've never seen anything be different, right? And if you haven't seen anything be different in your life, I would argue that you're not paying attention, right? But if you need to see someone else have something different in their lives, and who can commit to this idea of things can be different, they can be better, keep going, you can, hopefully see it through some of these experiences. So I think 2 days ago, I took a test for licensure for a whole other state on the other side of the country for me to be able to do my therapy practice and whatever other things float my boat. And it's been a long, long, long process, way longer than it should have been, right? I think to get a license in other states, sometimes it can take like 2 to 4 months. This has been much longer than that. And being in the midst of a court case, being in the midst of my career transitioning, my roof over my head transitioning, my spirituality transitioning, it felt to me at sometimes that I was super dependent on getting this new license and getting this new job and getting this new life over here, and just running away, right, from everything. And although I have moved from different space to space for reasons that I've spoken about, for more like safety and that type of thing, in these last, let's say in this last year or whatever, I don't think I even had the option to run away, to run away from any of the things that I still had to process. I still had to process the relationship with my kids, the relationships that I have with my family, with my exes, with my relationship, even with money, my relationship with scarcity, with abundance. And it it feels like at this point that I was almost forced to sit longer until I got the understanding, right? I became more responsible, even with how I spend. It doesn't matter how much money I have. If I have a lot or little, I think differently about my relationship with money and my relationship with having to have certain things. And I don't think that's something that happens until you're kind of sat down and you have to really look at what you have, what you really need, what you don't need. Why do you think you even need it? Why do you think you need to have certain things? Why do you need to live in a certain space? And when you realize that there is not too many things outside of you that are actually going to bring you security or joy, you stop always seeking for the validation from outside things. And that's even like the validation from a certain group of people, from a career, from a job, You stop looking for ways to mold and melt yourself, right? So that a certain set of people will be pleased enough with you that they will tell you that you are great and that you are acceptable, that you are chosen. You kind of have to know that that's who you are when you walk in there, because there's going to be so many people, no matter what town, city, country you live in, that will naturally be triggered by the difference in your existence, right? And a lot of people just don't want difference. They don't want that in their space. They don't also want to light on them that they are whoever they are, right? You go into a room, maybe you're not even comparing yourself to anybody. But if you are a bright light walking around, if you are someone who owns your own ideas and you speak your ideas or you embody your values and ideas so people can clearly see it, sometimes people feel threatened that maybe it's going to show on them that they haven't been doing any introspection, that they are not an individual, that they are doing the same things that other people are doing. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, right? But a lot of people feel like there's something wrong with not being unique or not being the person who stands out or not being picked or whatever. When you care about those things, because you're not going to get them all the time, that to me keeps us in a perpetual space of misery. To care about things that we have no control over, that we think we have control over, that I can curate a space where I'm going to be popular or accepted. When I accepted the fact that I care about how I actually feel, right? Like, I care about the story that I tell myself about myself. I care about how I talk to myself. I don't necessarily care about how you talk to me because I can remove myself from you. But when I really care about how I talk to myself, I can remove myself from you and your validation and your telling me good job when I know for real I did a good job, when I'm living up to the standard that I want to live up to. So my standards for good job, good person, that type of thing, I don't know, they change, they have blossomed, right? There's more things that I look at as what would make somebody or myself like a good soul, or what makes somebody deserving of a thing, right? Of karma or not, or whatever. So being in this space has really helped me figure out a way to release myself from that hyper validation, I would say narcissistic system that a lot of us have been living in. We can't just escape the world we live in. We live here, right? But we need to be able to see it for what it is so we know how to maneuver. We know how to move around it. I've been in this court case with my ex for, I've been divorced since 2013 from that particular person. So it's been a ridiculous amount of time. It is 2026 at this point in time, right? And it's not something that I can control, having rocks being thrown at me, but I need to know where the rocks are coming from. I need to be able to identify, is that a boulder? Is that a fast rock? Is that slow? Like, how do I move around it? It's, understanding your enemy, understanding your weapon, and understanding who you are as a weapon, understanding your power, calling your power back from other spaces and other people. The biggest trick a person can give you is to make you believe that they really do have power over the pleasure in your life. And so when I started to dive more into pleasure work, it is about liberation and freedom to me, that like, oh my gosh, I can activate my body in such a way that I can experience pleasure, even if you never like me another day in your life, right? I don't have to accept, a lot of us do, punishment really in relationships, which could be silent treatment, which could be insult, which could be open comparison, right? Like taking digs or whatever. I don't have to take that type of animosity just to earn a little bit of pleasure, a little bit of intimacy and attention. The more that I give it to myself, I figure out ways to curate a pleasurable, joyful life for myself, the less I feel imprisoned or shackled by someone else who's giving me the vague promise of giving it to me sometimes. Okay, so all this stuff has been about my freedom, honestly. I wrote down a couple things I didn't want to miss for the last one. Let me see what I wanted to make sure I talked about. I think I had mentioned some of the tools that I use throughout the process, right? So at this point in time, now by the time you see this, the shop will have been open for months, right? But at this point in time, my Etsy shop is just now open, and I have been working on these decks that I put out for well over a year. One of the decks, the artist for the deck created like a drawing for me per week or every couple. It took over a year to literally create the entire deck. It was meticulous and beautiful, and I'm so grateful. A lot of the tools that I have used throughout this process has been something that helped me a whole bunch. So it's funny. Okay, at the end of I just did a therapy session, and at the end of my session, one of my clients always asks for like star seed pull. So I'll put that in the thing as well. So I pull a card. I have a bunch of decks, but it is becoming this very yummy thing that the clients that are drawn to me are very much in alignment with moving through these spaces in this very aware way, spiritually, energetically, all those things, right? And it is becoming very much normalized to make these understandings of the world, of a higher power, of your intuition, a very normal part of our discussion in therapy, right? So people who are usually going to align with me, with my soul tribe, with whether it's a retreat, it's a support groups, it's individual therapy, it's our yoga, it's our rope time, whatever, are usually going to be like in the wave of that. We're kind of journeying together, right? And I might be a couple more steps ahead, or maybe we're in line, right? And we're in community together. We're still growing from each other because we picked different fruits from different trees, and we're bringing back that knowledge to each other. And so I was definitely called to add to that. So what happened, actually, I created a tarot deck, but I created it for me. I had so many tarot decks, but I wanted one that was specific to like sensual exploration and was aligned with goddesses and all those things. And so I created the deck to have all the information that I would want to have in alignment with, well, what else is Five of Pentacles? I know what the typical tarot definitions are, but we can always dive in to get more understandings through a different lens of a different culture. So I've kind of brought a lot of things together specifically for the tarot deck, for the oracle deck, just whatever to me was in alignment with our sensual exploration that is very intuitive and that is very much honoring of embodying sensuality, embodying pleasure, but also embodying it in a sacred way. So I think that anything can be, let's say, received or perceived as sacred to the user, right? I guess call it being like consecrated, right? So you can use any tool that is suitable for you in this journey that confirms the new understandings that you're having for yourself. That's what to me an oracle deck is. Any information. If I pull out a fortune cookie thing, it's usually a confirmation of the thing that you were processing, that you were thinking of, that maybe you were teeter-tottering on, and you needed something from your higher self, from the universe, to say, yes, you're on the right path. That's what they are. They're tools. They're not to like tell you what path necessarily to take, but to tell you you are already on this right path. And this is what you have to look forward to, or maybe this is a missing piece to make your path even smoother, even more peaceful, even more joyful, right? So I'm so proud to have been able to put together the tools that I have been using for myself to now be able to have it where other people can touch them. But these are definitely, like, I have a retreat in February, and I'm excited to be able, like when I do my yoga classes or whatever, I'm always bringing everybody else's decks, but to then be able to bring my deck, this is going to be a good year. This is going to be a good year. I think since the last video that I did, I've been booked to teach a class about attraction and all those things on from a person who has like a top actually it's a top sex podcast in the United States. It's Sex with Emily is what it is. And booked for another podcast that I've been waiting to get. It doesn't even matter the specifics of it, but I can see the unfolding. I'm saying all this to say all of the journey that I have described are things that have actually happened, but they're not things that have been a permanent barrier to anything that I have thought could happen or that I have wanted to happen. And there's more to happen. But there is something always on the other side. The cycle always cycles out. You never stay stuck, right? It's like having a jail sentence. You have the sentence, and when the sentence is over, your life is literally a whole other life. You're starting all over again, and you're figuring out how you want to do it this time. You don't get out of jail and go back to the same job, or because maybe your job was a life of crime or whatever, right? You don't hang out with the same people. because it's going to require you to be the same. You don't eat the same food because you recognize in jail when you stop eating whatever wasn't available anymore, you didn't have any ho-hos anymore, all of a sudden, like you got fit. Like you're not the same. When you go through a sentence, you can never be the same afterwards. And so we should not have that expectation while we're moving through our lives, in and out of physical jail or not. You are not supposed to be the same. We cycle through, we pick up the lessons that we can, and then we move forward. And then we keep growing whatever it is that we're trying to grow, whatever is in alignment with your purpose, how you are wanting to show up in the world. Nothing can stop you from showing up that way in the world, right? So I'm actually not going to keep this one too long. This is going to be the wrap up one. I'm excited to actually look back on this when it does publish and see where I actually am in that particular moment. But stick with me on the journey as more stuff kind of comes out to support our growth, our belief in something bigger than ourselves, our faith in peace and liberation. There's no reason for us not to live a life of peace and liberation, even in the midst of the jungle. All right. So love you guys, and I will sure see you later.